Hello, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August webcast on the Agile Central community. My name is Caitlin Lamb. I am a Product Marketing Manager for CA Agile Central. And here today I have Lynn Keyes. She is from the Customer Success team at CA Agile Central, and she will be giving a presentation on Portfolio Manager and providing some best practices on how to set up and use Portfolio Manager to really meet the needs of your team. And before I pass it over to Lynn, I just want to remind you and echo what Chris has said about the Q&A. If you have any questions, ask a question in the Q&A chat feature to the right of your screen. And at the end of the presentation, we will set aside some time to answer these questions. If for some reason we don't get to all of the questions live on this call today, we will address all of those unanswered questions and post them as a document on the Agile Central community. And in a few days, we will be able to post the recording of this webcast. So if you have any colleagues who wasn't able to make this presentation live today, please feel free to share this information with them. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Lynn.
Hello, good morning and good afternoon to all of you. Thanks for joining me today. As Caitlin said, we'll be reviewing the Portfolio Manager 101, or the basics. When I am reviewing Portfolio Manager with my customers, I usually do this one-on-one, but we look at a couple things. We look at how the tool is intended to be used, and then the best practices that are associated with the processes. And then we talk about how they are set up in the tool and how they're currently using it, and then what those gaps are. What we're trying to do here is meet you where you're at, and it's the conversation that's kind of ongoing, so it's never just a one-and-done conversation about Portfolio Manager. So my suggestion to those of you who are here today, listen to the presentation and then set up some time with your Customer Success Manager and continue those conversations with them. If you don't know who your Customer Success Manager is, just let me know. My contact information is at the end of the slide deck, and I'll make sure that I connect you with them. So with that, what is Portfolio Manager? When you've got your development teams, they're adopting good Agile practices, and they still need to answer the business questions about their actual progress, their delivery dates, and then costs. And then on the flip side of that, the business needs to collaborate with the development team to create realistic roadmaps that provide the clear visibility into the strategic priorities that have been set. So Portfolio Manager solves those challenges by providing that feedback loop between the business and the development team. So it's a single system of record. So who uses Portfolio Manager? Who's the audience for that? The product owners, product managers, maybe your whole PMO office, executives, or basically anyone who wants to track greater time box than one iteration. So when we start this, we look at the 5 levels of Agile planning. So are your business strategy and your development aligned? That's the key here. And a couple questions to think about as we go through this. How do you know that the development teams are working on the right stuff? And how does the business know that the features are going to be delivered? And do the development teams understand how the work they're doing supports the business needs? I've seen customers that I'm working with where the development teams are working on something only to find that it's not aligned to the strategy, and they get feeling like their work isn't important, and that's a really big deal there. So when we look at the onion here, the Agile onion, we look at the product vision, and I'm going to equate that to the Portfolio Manager items. So the product vision is 1 to 5 years, so that equates to themes. Then you go down to the product roadmap, which is 2 quarters, and that equates to epics and initiatives. And then release planning to features, which is 1 to 3 months. And then iteration planning and or user stories, which is 2 to 4 weeks. And then the daily commitment, which is tasks. So we need to look at a way that we can support and connect these levels of planning in Rally. So the team level is basically the most important level. This is where we start. So you start with your teams, and hopefully they're executing in an Agile fashion. They're using Scrum or Kanban, and they're following good practices, and they're delivering on their commitments. So a couple things that you have to look at is the predictability, the visibility, the planning, and the scaling. So let's start with predictability. You need to know the stable velocity of each development team, and this allows you to plan further out and then create your solid roadmaps that are visibly aligned to your strategies and vision of the business. So if I were doing this in person with you, I'd ask you these questions. So think about this. Are all of your development teams on the same cadence, the 2 to 4 week iterations? Some of the folks that I've worked with said now they're on 1 week or 3 weeks, or we mix it up and we change it. So in order to get to a stable, predictable state for those teams, you do need to be on the same cadence. Then the next question is, are the stories that your teams are committing to within any given iteration, are they completing all of those? Or are you continually splitting and moving those? If they are doing that, I mean, sometimes it does happen, but if it's a consistent state, we need to talk about the sizing of your stories and how that's going to get them more predictable. And then the third question is, are you planning for, or how or are you planning for your disruptive work? I've got one customer who basically all of his iterations go to disruptive work, and it's 80%, which is a problem because none of the planned work then gets done. So you need to think about how that's affecting your team, and the way that we describe it is, it's better to plan for what does not get done versus be surprised by what does not get done. So that's the predictability. Then the visibility allows the business the ability to see the progress of the development at any level of your organization as it applies to the strategies that you've invested in. So in other words, a clear line of visibility from the highest level of your strategy to the lowest level of your execution. And then the planning portion of it is the business's ability to deliver predictable results, time box after time box. So again, you're taking that same theory from the team level, being predictable, time iteration over iteration, and moving it up into the strategy level. And then that benefits your organization because it allows you to have robust roadmaps that can be extended upwards of 18 months. And that also helps steer the development so that you're always delivering the right thing to the market at the right time. And then the last thing is the scaling. So the ability to do coordinated planning for all parts of your organization using the portfolio manager sets you up to track development spanning those larger time boxes. So that is for the team level. So the next item we're going to look at is how do we add that intermediate time box again. So we need to bridge that gap and connect the work that the teams are doing to the strategy that the business has defined for you. Keep in mind, again, the teams are executing on that 2 to 4 week time box, but this is too short for the business typically, so you need that larger time box to span the gap there. Okay. Now this view shows you we're incorporating more of the language from the portfolio manager, so from the theme level down. But we have that value for that intermediate time box that allows your business to do the planning on their cadence, and then the team, again, to continue and execute on theirs. Then you have the confidence the teams are working on the right stuff. Sorry about that. So you also get the feedback on how the work is progressing. There's no more status calls or meetings. You can see where everything is at across your organization, and that will come naturally as your teams complete their work. And then the information rolls up to the highest level immediately so you can see the current status. If you need to adjust due to the market changes or pressures, you're never more than 2 weeks out from those changes, so you can pivot quickly. And the work that gets done is directly driven by what the business has deemed is the most important. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is we're going to jump into our demo environment, and we're going to show you how this works this way. We're going to start with your project hierarchy. And this is something, when we look at your project hierarchy, it basically models the organization and your value streams that the business wants to track. It also helps organize where the work is being done, so it's showing you the strategic layer versus your execution layer. One of the things I would say is this area, again, is get with your CSM and review this with them. What we like to do is get a look at how you're set up. And what we're finding is we're working with some of our customers is that the hierarchies were set up either years ago by somebody who no longer is in the company, or it was set up extremely complex. I have one customer who has 4 pages of hierarchy, which is extremely extensive, and I don't think that's not really the intent to have that large of a hierarchy. So we'll work with you on that and help you refine it. We also suggest that in some cases that you set up a sandbox environment if you're not quite sure and you need to spend some time looking at it. So that's where I start with that. So this is our demo environment again, and we've set up our fake hierarchy in the form of an Amazon online store. So you can see here that the online store is the top level, and then the child projects below it are consumer site, platform, and reseller site. And then if you go down to the further level below that, you'll get to the team. The team should always be the bottom node within your hierarchy. This gives you good visibility across all of your projects, and it shows you where the work is being done. The other suggestion is do not use the same names under the different projects. So you can have the same people working on different projects, but the names have to be different, or you've got cross-functional teams working on different projects. Again, those are questions that you can talk through with your customer success managers. All right, so that is that. The next thing we're going to review is the portfolio itself. So we're going to go into the portfolio items. Now this view, it'll show you all of your items that you have set up in portfolio. So what we're looking here, you can look at any of the levels within your portfolio. These names are customizable. You do not need to name them theme, initiative, and features. They should be relevant to your business so everybody understands how that is set up, but you can change them as you see fit. So I'm going to show you the top level of our hierarchy so you can see from the top level down. So this is going to be an online store, and we're going to look at the theme level, which is the top level, which again, that's that bigger time box of 1 to 5 years. So I can come in here and I can see, okay, I've got 2 major themes. I've got revamp my online presence and then create the best-in-class platform. You can expand them, so you can see all the smaller items that are associated with them below. And you can go all the way down. You see the initiatives, you see the features, you see the user stories, and you can see it all the way down to the task. If you don't want to see that high level, let's just say we want to go down to the consumer site. We'll go down to that. And let's say I just want to see the feature levels for that. I want to see what features I have associated with this. Now, a couple things to look at. You can add new features from this view. So that is right here on the Add Plus and Add New. You just add a name, and you hit Add. And you can add it with all the details that you'd like on that as well. You can also change this view to see other things. You can do some filters, which this is a standard page now if you've been working in Rally very much. And you can also add additional columns. So I would like to see, let's just go down here, and we'll just add a couple things. I want to see if I have any blocked features. And I want to see if it's an expedited item. And I also want to see the parents on here if I can, because I might want to not have to always go to the top level, so I want to add the parent level. And then I just hit Apply. So as you'll see over here, you can see, is this an expedited item? Yes. Is it blocked? Yes, you can see it's blocked. You can see that as well before based on the schedule state, but I just want to add that as an extra little notation. And then it tells me what the parent is for this. So, and as you can see for the feature level, it's the initiative 21, and then the user stories are expanded so you can see it is F24. So this is the look from the portfolio items page. All right. The next page we're going to go look at is the portfolio timeline. And I'm going to show this at the highest level, again, within the hierarchy. So I'll go to the online store. Now, this is a view for executives. This is meant for a view only. It's not meant to have any work done in this page. This should give anyone at the strategy level the ability to go in here and say, where are we at within our development cycle on all of the items that we're working on, for as far out as high in your hierarchy as you'd like to go. So the theme, again, so they can expand this out as well, and you can see down to the feature level. And keep in mind the portfolio only the lowest level is the feature level. You can't see stories and tasks from this level. The only place that you can actually view that is, as I showed on the portfolio items. You can see them there, but you cannot see user stories or tasks at this level. So this will give you the ability to see everything that's out there. The zoom bar adds the ability to expand it out. Items do not drop off of this from a timeline perspective. We've had some folks who've asked if they can hide it. It goes out of the view, as you can see. It's just how far back you want to go. But the timeline does continue to go on and on. So you can view that. And again, you can look down from the theme level and or the feature level. Okay. If you look at so the features here, we've got some features that are obviously red, so they're late, and then you've got the yellow, which are at risk, and our green, which is they're on track, or the completed, which is where you see some completed. But we also see these here. If you see F11, they are planned, but they don't have a start and end date. So a couple things to think about. Where I showed you on the portfolio items where you can add a feature or any of the portfolio items, if you want it to show up on here, you do have to have a start and end date. Once you get a start, or you can have a start date, but you might not have an end date. It'll still show up here for you. But if you put nothing, it won't show up on the timeline. It'll be part of your portfolio items, but it won't show up on the timeline. So you do have to have a start and end date. So from these features, that is it for the executive portfolio timeline. The next item that I want you to see is the Kanban. A lot of folks like the portfolio Kanban because it gives them a different view. The folks that I work with, typically, if they're using this, they have people in their product organization that actually manage this. Every company is a little different, so it depends on how you're set up. But you are able to track your development again by feature, and you can set the priorities this way as you're working through your iterations and your planning across your roadmaps. So on these card views, you can change some of these. You can add things to them, and I'll show you. This is the same page setup as the other ones, but I will show you this because I think it's important. So a lot of times people want to see, okay, I've got my features for this, but I want to see who the parent is. So I want those parents to be on the card, and I want to know what project it's on because we've got these features may cross multiple projects, so you want to be able to see that. And let's see, I think that's it. We'll just add those two for now. So you'll be able to see what project they're in, and you will be able to see, so you can see right here it's the project, and you should also be able to see the parent here. And I'm not seeing the parent. So that should be showing up, but that is where you add that. Again, so you can change your views. You can change the card view to any level within the portfolio again. So the folks that I work with, they look at their features. They're looking at them basically quarterly, and they finish within their quarterly or their PI planning sessions or releases, whatever the terminology is you're using for your individual companies. But then they are able to move these into the various stages or states of development. And then the last thing that I'm going to show you here is your release tracking, which is also under the Portfolio tab. And the reason I've been showing people this within the Portfolio Manager is because it allows you to see at the portfolio level where your dependencies are. So I've got myself set up at the online store at the highest level here. I see all the features that I've got, and I want to see if I've got any dependencies. So as I'm working through my features and we're working with the various teams, this gives you the view of where are my dependencies. So as you can see, F24 is dependent on F8 and F29. What I do want to show you is how this is. If you're not familiar with this, I'll go back to our portfolio items. But this is a view that allows you to see where you might have some areas of issue. If you've got things that are backwards or forwards dependent, it depends on how you're set up. And folks can catch their errors in their planning this way as well. It's a good visual. So we're going to go back to the portfolio items. And let's just say I'm going to look at F24 here, so I'm going to hit the little gear, which gives me the edit capability. Okay, and now I want to look at this little dependency up here. This is where I want to go. And so here's where we'll be able to add either a predecessor or a successor. So I've got F24 feature. I need to add it to an existing one. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to hit choose. And it automatically gives me a drop-down box of all the existing features that are out there. And so I want to add it to F40. Okay, so F24 and F40 are now aligned. And I'm going to go back to my release tracking. And you can see, let's see, we want to see our dependency on that. F40. Okay, that tells you that, and we should be able to see the dependency here is F24 again. And for some reason, this is not going. This one is not showing me, and I apologize. But I'm not gonna keep searching for it for you. But try it out on your system as well, because you should be able to track that directly to. It might be in a different. I might have grabbed one that's not able to have. It might be completed as well. So take a look at it and track it that way. But if you have any questions around that, we can take it further with questions. So with that. That's the basics of our Portfolio Manager and your ability to scale between your execution and your strategy, and just some of the pieces within the Portfolio Manager that you can use for tools and for visibility.
Great. Thanks so much, Lynn, for all the helpful information in the demo. Would you mind just going back to the last slide of the presentation? And then actually before we go to questions, we're just going to continue to collect some last-minute questions, so please use the Q&A feature. Okay. And here's some of the questions we have over here, but before we address those, I just want to remind everyone to join the Agile Central community if you haven't already. We will have a link in this presentation. So the Agile Central community is really the perfect place to ask any questions, see new product updates, and discussions on there. We also have calendar reminders for any upcoming community webcasts that might be going on. So I highly encourage everyone to follow the Agile Central community. And also we have a monthly product update newsletter that goes out every month. And we include product updates, educational resources, upcoming events, just really all things Agile Central to keep you up to date with what's going on month to month. If you would like to subscribe to this monthly product update newsletter, we also have a link in here as well. And also on the front page of the Agile Central community, we have some links where you can subscribe to that newsletter.
So one of the questions is, and I'm not quite clear, but here it says, will the red lines on the page show up, or do we need to click to make them visible? So I'm not sure we're talking about the dependencies. If we're talking about the dependencies, yes, the red lines will show up. I don't think you're talking about the portfolio timeline, but as you click the dependency, the little icon for dependencies, it'll automatically go to everything that's been set up as a dependency, so either a successor or a predecessor, as I showed in the portfolio timeline. So whatever you set that up as, you'll see those red lines connect them. Okay. And let's see. So I'm going to read through this one. In the demo, you showed the dashboard view. And there was a retrospect note there. I don't see that in the app catalog. What is that, and how do you put it in place? The dashboard view was, I was showing the project hierarchy there. The retrospective notes, that's not where it's at, and you're talking about the app catalog. So are you, maybe post an addition to your question around that? I apologize, but from the app catalog, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, so I apologize. So add a little more information to that, please, and then we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, and there might be some questions asked and some suggestions that we might not be able to address right now on the call, but we will definitely gather all of these unanswered questions and address them with the team and get that posted up as a document on the communities along with the webcast replay. So you will get your answer.
There's another question around dependencies. Can you have dependencies between tasks, or is it restricted to the user stories? So you can add dependency to the user stories, which is at the team level, and then I was showing at the feature level you can have the dependencies as well, which we showed in this demo. So if you have any more questions around that, I would be happy to answer some more questions about that as well. So send another note if that didn't answer you. But yes, you can have them at the user level and the feature. I think that we'll have to respond to a couple of those after.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for your incredible presentation, and also for all of you who took the time to join this morning. Again, like I said, the recording of this webcast, as well as the answered Q&As, will be available on the Agile Central community in the next few days. And again, I highly encourage you to, share this presentation with any of your colleagues who weren't able to make it today, and share the knowledge. But with that said, we look forward to seeing you in next month's September webcast on the communities. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.